Welcome to the Conscious Living Podcast, conversations to educate, empower, and enlighten our world. An uplifting and inspiring series of conversations and talks with your host, Jackie Woodside. We are educating minds, empowering lives, and enlightening souls to create a world where love prevails. In this engaging podcast, we deliver exciting, positive, transformative talks and teachings designed to elevate your life. Now, let's join our host, Jackie Woodside, for this week's session.
Everybody, I am so glad that you are here with us for another episode of the Conscious Living Podcast, where we seek to educate, empower, and enlighten our world. And today I've got an extraordinary human being on today's show. I just said to him, I think he's probably the smartest person that I know. Dr. Pele is a coach, a consultant, a technology expert. He owns the Profitable Happiness Method in coaching. You can find him at drpele.com. And he's just such a bright light to be around. And so I'm really excited to dive in today with Dr. Pele. Dr. Pele, why don't you just say a couple more things about your path, your journey, and what you're up to these days so our listeners can get to know you just a little bit more.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Jackie. I have been in the consulting space for quite a while, and I have gone through a couple versions of myself within that space. I've been in the technology space. I've been in the human people development space, and now I'm back in technology. But I have a central place where I share all my ideas. It's called ClientJam. And what ClientJam is, it's a community of people like myself, consultants, coaches who want to share their information online and get really good at content marketing. And so that's what I've been doing. But I'm very passionate about using technology to digitize work. And that's kind of where I am today.
Fantastic. And one other big piece that we both didn't mention, you are also a passionate musician.
Yeah, that's kind of probably the thing that is who I am. Like I love music, and all my life I've been trying to find a way to get music into the things I do. It hasn't always been successful, but I think I'm closer.
I love it. And what's the tagline on your LinkedIn profile that we just looked at? What is
the tagline of my LinkedIn profile now, it's so new I have to actually go look at it.
Oh,
it says orchestrate is to music as automate is to work.
That's so great.
And yeah, and really the reasoning for that, first of all, my podcast, the one I'm launching, is called AutomateWorx, and it's all about the intelligent automation industry. And the analogy is perfect. Music fits perfectly as an analogy because automating the work of an organization is very much like conducting an orchestra. You have to get every instrument right, and it has to be all in harmony with every other instrument. And when they work together harmoniously to achieve the ultimate beautiful sound that we're looking for, that's a great song and a great organization.
That's fantastic. I love that analogy. Really brilliant. So, I'm passionate about conscious living. We're living in a time today that, technology, information is coming at us so fast, the unbelievable rapid pace of change. And, people are, I feel anyway, and a lot of the work I do with my clients and with organizations, that people are really like grasping, like trying to just hold on, to the side of the pool and not get swept away by the currents of rapid change. And I think people are really looking for something that's more grounding, that feels more sustainable, like living life awakened, enlightened, and conscious. And I know that that's something that, while it's not the center of your work the way that it is mine, I know it's something that you're passionate about, living life consciously. So I would just love to hear your thoughts on that and what it means to you, both in, ClientJam, Profitable Happiness, your work in organizations with technology. How do we live life consciously?
That's such a deep question.
It is such a deep question, but I think it's the question of our times, right?
It really is. It really is. Let me tell you a little story that is a story of us, all of us.
Okay.
Almost all of us start out life in our young, version of ourselves, happy. We start out life happy. We do things naturally happy. Yeah. And then a day comes when someone says, hey, there's this thing over here called profit. It's called making money. It's called buying a house. It's called blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Why don't you put your happy little stuff away and just forget about it for a while? Go do this profit
Go
thing.
earn a living.
Yeah. And then we all move over and we start doing the profit thing. And then one day we wake up profitable or not, and we feel miserable because our happiness is not with us.
Yeah.
And so for me, living consciously is really about bringing profit and happiness together. So that there's a harmony between the things that make you happy and the things that make you profitable in terms of either living somewhere or being, having tangible things that you can eat in the morning, whatever profit means to you. Profitable happiness is about bringing yourself together in those two ways. Now, to get to that, sometimes you have to lose everything just to get a sense of who you truly are, because most of us don't know who we are. And I think part of consciousness is saying, am I this person who wears this t-shirt and is playing a guitar, or am I something deeper who's observing this person who's wearing a t-shirt and playing guitar? And once you realize that you really are the observer and that you can pick and choose consciously which version of yourself you want to manifest in the world. And for me, the version of myself that I've been striving to manifest is the one that is both happy and profitable.
Nice.
But to get to that, you have to surrender. You have to give in to your happiness and say, you know what? Now I know it. Gosh darn it. I'm the guy with the guitar on his thing. I'm not the guy with some corporate badge. Okay, I'm the guy who plays guitar. I wear a hat. Gosh darn it, and I'm happy about it.
I love that. It's great.
Right? But so once you surrender to that version of you, that's when I believe you started to live consciously. And for everyone, it's different. For me, it's music, it's storytelling, teaching. For someone else, it could be anything else, but you have to find what that is.
Wow. So conscious living is knowing yourself at a deep level and being able to surrender to it.
Absolutely. And the reason that the word surrender is important here is because, surrender is like giving up to some degree. It's like saying, I'm going to just accept that even though all the things that make me who I think I am out there, shiny objects might seem interesting, this is who I really am, though.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to surrender to myself.
Surrendering to yourself. Yeah.
I'm going to give in to what I believe my true calling is, my true purpose. So surrendering to what makes you happy is the beginning, in my opinion, of profitable happiness. And I think comes closer to your concept of conscious living.
Yeah, I think so too. I make a distinction between acceptance and surrender because people sometimes confuse them. I say acceptance is being able to look at what's so and just saying like, okay, this is what's so, and surrender is, and I can't do anything about it. Like this is what's so, and I can't change that the diagnosis came, or I can't change that the boss unloaded me and I now am unemployed. Like I can't, now there may be things to do because the boss unloaded me or somebody walked out on me. There may be things to do, but I can't, like it is that way.
Yeah.
And I can't do anything about it. So mapping that onto what you just said, I am this way. And I can't do anything about it. So I want to live into it rather than thinking I should be this way or change this way, or that's unconscious living. And we are so fed by the media culture that we're in about what opinions or brands or styles or, what we should be doing, what we should be driving, how we should be thinking. It's like, no, how can we learn to quiet all of this outer influence so that exactly as you said, this inner sense of self and desire and happiness just naturally emerges. So I can't tell you how much I love that notion that conscious living means surrendering to the self. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Most of psychology talks about what happens to us when we are very young. Yeah. And I have a very, very deep connection with that analogy and that line of thinking, because when I was 2 or 3 years old, I was part of a war zone. My mother and I were refugees back in Africa in the Civil War. It was called the Biafran Civil War. So Nigeria was fighting against this little upstart country inside of it called Biafra. And that civil war was claiming millions of lives. And I was on the Biafran side. So imagine my mother and I running around from refugee camp to refugee camp. We had no food. We were afraid of dying from the bombs falling everywhere every day. And what happened to me in my young years is that my mother couldn't feed me and she couldn't provide shelter or safety from dying. But she did something very amazing. What she did was she sang to me.
Wow.
Yeah, she would take my name, Pele, and put it into a song that she would invent. And she would sing it to me over and over. And you know what it did? It drove away the fear of dying from bombs. It drove away the hunger. It made me happy. And that's when I learned my life's first lesson, which is happiness comes first before profit. Yeah. Happiness comes first before success, not the other way around. Maslow's hierarchy teaches us that you first got to go get your stuff, like, you get your food and your shelter and your house, and then you consider, self-actualization later. Yeah. It's actually the other way around. Carry them both with you, happiness and profit. And that's where I learned that lesson right from my formative years. Music became the content that could divert my attention from fear and focus it on faith. And that's the kind of thing that I think we all have to discover. What is it that can help us quiet down these noises and focus on the good that we can be and do?
I love that, because, in my world, happiness isn't what you do, it's who you are. Bring your happiness to what your outer expressions are in life, and let that happiness go to work. And there are things that we're each naturally gifted with. I'm gifted with speaking and knowing human beings. I mean, that's really all I know. I can speak really well, and I know human beings inside and out. You are gifted with technology and music and understanding human beings. That's your, I call it my zone of brilliance.
Yeah.
I have a pretty narrow zone of brilliance, yours, which is why I think you're the most intelligent person I know. You have a very wide zone of brilliance. And I appreciate that. Not only do you enjoy music, but you write music. And I think you have a song about surrendering to the self. Will you share some of that with us?
I'd love to. You can probably see that I'm kicking and screaming not to do it, right?
Well, it's actually, who you are.
Yeah, actually, I wrote, I have an album called Profitable Happiness that I released. It's everywhere. You can search for it, Dr. Pele, Profitable Happiness. And this song, I Surrender, is one of those songs. And this is my life story, really, is just finally surrendering to the truth as opposed to what the world has been selling me. And so I'll just share that with you real quick. So it goes like this. I have climbed the highest mountain, hoping there would lie my fortune, but was wrong. And I swam the deepest ocean, seeking treasure and conviction, but was wrong. So I stopped to reconsider all my oaths of self-deception, and I found I was wrong. I was wrong. So I surrender to you. Heaven, I surrender to you. Clearly I was not alone. So I surrender to you. Heaven, I surrender to you. Humbled here I stand, take me as I am, back home.
Oh, I got chills.
Oh, thank you. And as always, you forget one or two lines, but hey.
Yeah, even though you wrote it, it's been a while.
Even though you wrote it, you're like, yeah, I can't remember what this was, but
this was supposed to be.
Yeah, maybe you caught it, maybe you didn't, but I forgot one line.
That is stunning. That is an absolutely stunning song. Wow. I also want to acknowledge your mom. That story that you told, that she couldn't feed you, she couldn't house you, she couldn't protect you from the bombs, but she could sing to you.
Yeah.
And as I shared with you before we got on air, my minister used to say, those who sing pray twice. Pray with their words and they pray with their vibration. And I think your mother's singing to you became her prayer, and it was the prayer that helped you both survive
Absolutely.
being
Absolutely.
war refugees. So I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm grateful for your mom, how she instilled that love of music inside of you, and for all of us here at the Conscious Living Podcast to celebrate that with you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You're so welcome. So I know people are going to want to know more about you, your work with Profitable Happiness. What a great thing. Where can people find you?
Well, the best way to find me nowadays is LinkedIn. So if you go to LinkedIn, my handle is Dr. Pele, DRPELE. But my website is also drpele.com, drpele.com. And from there, everything else flows.
All right, beautiful. So I just love the vibe of this conversation, that conscious living is about surrendering to the self, allowing your happiness to lead you, and trusting life, surrendering to that sense of self, that sense of happiness, and living life consciously. And you are someone who's not only doing that with word, you are doing that with how you live. So thank you for sharing that with us on the Conscious Living Podcast.
Thank you so much, Jackie. It's been a pleasure.